So, a loving hello. Thank you for tuning in to Conscious Woman Being podcast. The conversations today, I am really excited to be in conversation with Neralee Robinson of Flow Facials on the Sunshine Coast in Australia. And there are so many reasons why I am enlivened and enthusiastic for what's going to unfold in this conversation. But what really feels alive is that you are going to be listening to conversation with a human that is offering facial therapy connected to, not deviated from nature and the intelligence of nature and the ancient wisdom of Ayurveda. So, hey, Neralee, welcome.
Hello.
Thanks for being a yes and joining me in conversation.
I'm so excited. Thank you for inviting me.
This is great. There are lots of things that I wish to ask you as we speak. And I guess the starting point is, what's your why? What's your why? I mean, you really promote things simply, simply and naturally. And what inspires me is that you are offering facial therapy and treatment in a way that is pure and unadulterated. And it's almost like less is more when you connect in with natural intelligence and use these simple techniques and methods based on this ancient intelligence, as opposed to what is really almost become the normal in the name of beauty and beauty.
Yes.
So, what's your why?
So my why, obviously a skin and beauty therapist by trade, a facialist, and I was really lucky to have trained in Ayurvedic day spas and wellness centers and um, got exposed to that underpinning Ayurvedic beauty philosophy. And it just was so deeply resonant for me because, as you say, it's very natural, it's very holistic, which has always been my vibe or resonant for me. But it just was this beautiful sense of connection, particularly for women, to not just the aesthetic beauty, which is very apparent in my industry, but it really encapsulates the felt beauty. So that connection to self and our own cycles and the seasons around us and within us, and those beautiful attributes of love and compassion and grace and kindness. And a lot of that isn't touched on in the beauty industry or the modern beauty industry. So for me, my why is to gently and in a kind, non pressured way guide women back to that felt beauty, not just the aesthetic beauty. And I feel that when we can tap into the felt beauty and those beautiful attributes and living seasonally and cyclically and within our own divine nature, that radiance and skin vitality and longevity and beauty is naturally going to radiate.
Mm.
And that's really important to me, the feltness of it, not just the aesthetic look.
Mm.
So that is my big why for women to kind of return back to nature and beauty in a very real, authentic, organic way, and
Mm.
embracing our uniqueness, our unique look, energy, and being able to make that accessible.
Yes, and this is something that you've just touched on in the cyclical nature of it, the seasons, the phases. because this is something that evolves as we evolve and mature. Obviously, the aesthetics change.
Yes.
And yet, radiance and presence is something that we experience beyond what we see in others.
Absolutely.
So, how are we identifying with our own selves and what's being sensed and experienced when others experience or encounter us? And there is something incredibly individual about each human in the way that we perceive beauty and in the way that we perceive ourselves. And I'm just going to say it that when I see what many, not only women, men too, are having done in beauty treatments, in cosmetic treatments, there is a loss of individuation. Like,
Absolutely. And we're
like
all
you're
starting to look the
homogenized
same.
about it. It's like people are becoming homogenized and all look the
Mhm.
same. And
Mm.
and so for me, it's like, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? And it does impact presence. It impacts
Absolutely.
unless it is so consciously congruent with beliefs, values, and purpose. Mm.
I totally agree. And I think that um, speaking into, modern beauty aesthetics, there are a lot of interventions that aren't naturalistic or holistic by nature. But we are losing our unique physical imprint of how we look and how we present to the world. And as you say, we're all sort of morphing into the same. And we lose our magic. We lose what we individually have to offer. So aesthetically, we're all starting to look the same and have these interventions, but we're losing, as you say, that nature of individuality, which is what I love about Ayurvedic beauty philosophy, because part of our unique blueprint is our characteristics and our attributes. And then as we get older, in a lot of Eastern philosophies, that process is celebrated.
Mm.
It's about, and I speak into women because I work with women,
Sure.
but as women age, there's a real honoring and respect of the wisdom that they've earned and their face and the lines and the pigment. And they've earned that through the years, and that's celebrated. And we don't do that in modern day beauty standard. It's about erasing the lines and being flawless and changing our actual face shape and characteristics. And we're losing that magic. We're suppressing the celebration of that wisdom.
Mm.
And yeah, it's a very interesting time in
Mm.
beauty aesthetics. And so
Yes.
my part or my passion is to try and bring in the way it was, where we're celebrating women getting older and the acceptance of women getting older without, yeah, trying to change that narrative.
Mm. Mm. And it's even because maturation and aging, of course, are going to happen. Ready or not, like it or not, it's coming. Like it's
Absolutely.
and um and so apart from the fact that it's resisting nature, it's also trying to change the laws of nature. But it's it's denying the richness of being really present to the now because it's
Yes.
very future orientated.
Yes. And we're chasing.
Prevents something from coming.
Mm-mm.
But it's also, it's not only, so aging is going to happen for all of us. And whether it's experienced with inner strength and equipoise and uprightness, like dignity, or whether it's experienced manipulating, if you will, artificially manipulating and kicking and screaming and resisting, it's coming. It's coming. So there's something about not being with the truth of what is, not being able to accept what is. And to me, I don't know, I'd love to know your thoughts, Neralee, but to me, if we are doing something in really full conscious celebration because we accept all parts of us, that's one thing. But if we're doing it to try and um, change something about the way we identify with ourselves,
Mm.
or a belief or a perception we have about ourselves, then we're not liberating ourselves for sure. We're certainly not on that trajectory towards presence and radiance
Yes.
inside out.
And resisting that flow, that natural flow of life. As you say, it's going to happen. And what a blessing that it does happen. What a gift to be getting older and to go through that process. But it's the old, reversing the clock. You can't go back. And as you say, that word presence, being in the moment and moving with the flow of life,
Mm,
and accepting that, and just being yourself in that whole process is incredibly liberating. And you're not pressuring yourself to other people's standards. You're living your life, and you can live a radiant life and look radiant, and get older, but also look older. That's
yes,
okay as well.
totally. Of course, it's fantastic. Like all the wisdom that comes, it's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. And part of the storytelling is the story of your physicality. And your physical
Yes.
expression is based on your relationship to yourself, how you perceive and experience yourself. But it's not only aging, it's because this is something that is young women, young women. What is happening when young women are trying to alter
Yes, it's
it
getting younger
getting
and
younger?
younger. And
So,
I
what is
think
it
when you
about not accepting ourselves as we are? I have straight hair. I want it to be curly. I have curly hair. I want it to be straight. I have no freckles. I want freckles. I have freckles. I don't want freckles. I have a big nose. I want a little nose. I have a little nose. I want a bigger nose. I,
it's so much pressure, and I think with the increase of social media and technology, the exposure to this stuff is happening younger and younger. And as you say, young girls and young women are starting to get interventions, aesthetic interventions that they do not need, but they feel pressure, whether that's external or internal pressure, to do this stuff. And, when I was younger, I, me and my girlfriends didn't even talk about injectables or Botox or lip filler, or it just wasn't a conversation. And the younger cohort of 20 and 30-year-olds are getting these interventions as maintenance treatments. And obviously, it's not natural or holistic in any realm, but it really is distorting how women or younger women see what is considered the norm. And it's not the norm because it's interventions, but it is shaping how they view themselves and their beauty and what they look like. And I don't think it can be a fulfilling and meaningful exchange because you're literally changing the way that you look. And that, to me, my opinion is it's not anchored in self love and self acceptance because you're changing your face or feel that pressure to change.
Mm.
We should be honoring our beauty and how we look and accepting that in its natural state, in my
I, I,
opinion.
yes, yes. And I so appreciate your words honoring our natural beauty. Honoring
Yes.
natural beauty. This is really then cultivating the virtues from the very place where this luster, where this fullness, where this radiating presence are generated from. And
Mm.
also, I'd like to hear you speak a little more about what you do and how it educates women as to how they can be managing their own daily, skin routine and as part of a complete self-care routine, because it's really Ayurveda has given us so many tools that we can use as home remedies in all aspects of our living, in all aspects of our lifestyle from day to day, where we become more resourced. These interventions from outside of ourselves, we're outsourcing completely.
Yes, yes. And that can be quite disempowering on a subconscious level, I think. We don't think of it sometimes as being disempowering, but when I anchor all of my skin wisdom, my facial rituals in Ayurvedic beauty philosophy. So that centers around natural products, but teaching people how to use oil on their skin and self massage and creating a really ritualized skincare routine that's anchored in touch and nourishment and oils, but in a very simple way. I think we're overcomplicating it these
Mm,
days. And I think the majority of women, the majority of complexions are either overstimulated, overheated, or depleted. And we're lacking that nourishment. And Ayurvedic beauty philosophy invites that level of nourishment through ritual and self care and abhyanga, oil massage, and taking mindful moments during the day just to connect with yourself. And when we create the spaciousness to create ritual and implement more ritual into our lives, and to do it in a way that is infusing touch and presence and mindfulness, we start to shift our perspective with our beauty routine. So it's not just about cleansing the skin and putting moisturizer on, it's about cultivating loving oil cleanse massage and abhyanga and just taking little moments of ritual and making it a daily occurrence, which is your daily routines and rituals, and then adapting that to the seasons, of course, as well. But it just slows us down and nourishes us. And I think that that is key for modern beauty aesthetics. Simplifying, slowing down, nourishing.
that's stunning. What you have just shared is so full and stunning. And it's, excuse me, when you said with the skincare routine that for many it's overstimulated, overheated, and depleted. So true is is the way that people are living.
Yes, yes, it's a
Because
true reflection.
if the skin on the face is reflecting that, then that's an expression of what's happening internally in the body. So
Absolutely, our
really,
body and our mind.
yeah, yeah, but that overstimulation, overheating, depletion. So they're really great points to contemplate. To ask yourself, what am I actually doing here? What am I
Yes,
really seeking? What am I really, what really is am I overstimulated? Am I,
absolutely.
am I in need of nourishment? Am I in need of nurturing? Mm.
And when we mirror, particularly in an Ayurvedic facial, the skin, as you said, mirrors what's happening in the body and the mind. So if the complexion has high pitta, so very overheated, very reactive, very overstimulated, the question to ask is yes, we need to cool and calm and sweeten and soften topically with what we're using on the skin, but we also need to cultivate those qualities internally and with the seasons. And a lot of clients start to go, oh, my skin's burnt out and I'm feeling burnt out. I do
Mm,
need to cool and calm and
mm,
soften, not just by using rose water on my complexion, but to literally stop, breathe, and smell the roses.
mm,
So
mm,
when it lands with clients and they start to understand that we are whole beings and our skin is a reflection of what's happening in our mind and our body, we can, yeah, piece it together. And it's so resonant for me because it makes sense when you start to break it down, using those words.
yes. Yeah. Yeah. And that's what it's about, isn't it? To break it down into chewable bite sizes that we can assimilate and come to our own understanding of, oh my gosh,
Yes. And it's self
this is what I'm
awareness or
doing, or
self
this is what I'm
inquiry.
needing, or this is what I'm actually even wanting.
Yes.
And
And
it's
checking in with yourself and, like you said, how am I feeling? Oh, I really needed a facial. My skin's playing up and I feel so stressed. And then, contemplating how do I feel and what's going on for me to
mm,
create that. So Ayurvedic beauty is very holistic. It's not just about delivering the facial or putting the cream on the skin. It's about what's happening underneath the surface. And
mm,
again, modern aesthetics don't work that deep
mm,
because it's just not, it's the surface level. So I
yes.
like to work a little bit deeper to connect in.
Yeah, and it's like anything, you can splash around in the froth and bubble on top, or you can go down deep beneath the waves. And really, the sense of oneself and a really resource fulfilling experience of being alive is under
Yes.
the skin.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm. And there's something that I've observed. I mean, you share, excuse me, you use, as part of the modern world in social media, you use it with great generosity of spirit in sharing the way that you demonstrate really simple techniques. And it looks applying oil to one's skin, or the way you know, you stimulate in a nourishing way by massaging the fingers against the skin or the structures of the face. And when I see this, it's very There's a reverence to it. It's ritualistic.
Yes.
What I perceive is, oh my gosh, this is so conscious and intentional. And there's this devotional aspect to self. It's not just, okay, I've got 8 products and I've got 30 seconds to use them all now, and then I've got to get out the door.
Yeah,
It's like,
absolutely.
slap
It's
it
that
on, wash it off, next,
slapdash.
next, next, next.
Yeah.
It's this real presence to like, okay. I'm going to
And
apply
it's
this and do this technique. And it's kind of timeless. When
and
I look,
it's that beautiful self-connection and awareness of
mm,
our face and our skin. And I love that word, devotional and intentional touch, particularly self-touch, I think, you know, is so deeply grounding and connecting, self-connecting, particularly, we look at our most of our really busy modern lives, and the world's pretty chaotic, and it's moving very quickly. So if we can create that sense of balance with the qualities and starting to slow it down and connect in, massage uh, is the most beautiful way to do that. And it does force you to slow down when you're doing it with intention and a sensation of loving kindness, as well as from a physical aspect, really being one of the best anti-aging things you can do for your skin.
mm,
Massaging your skin with oil, really amplifying that life force vitality to the surface, helping the circulation, helping to detoxify, helping to shift stagnation and move energy. And lift and firm and tighten and all of those things. But again, the underlying purpose behind it is to create a really grounding, nurturing, self connecting ritual. And
mm,
if we get to do that daily, I think the world would be a better place. And we get to also connect with our face and feel our cheekbones and feel our jaw
yes.
and feel
Yeah.
our tension. And, again, we're all different and hold tension and stress in various ways. But it's getting to know yourself and having that self inquiry. So, again, it's an aesthetic practice, but underneath that, it's also about, yeah, that felt beauty and how can I shift the tension and why am I holding stress in my jaw and why is that radiating down my neck and what am I holding on to that I need to release? And, when we can slow down and start to think a little bit deeper, again, we start to return to present.
Mm.
And I think that's really important.
It's very important, very important. So it's an opportunity to be with ourselves and allow, as we are touching our own bodies, touching our own skin with our own fingers, there's communication taking place and there's information moving. And
Mm.
and in slowing down, we start to receive that information. The body's expressing to us. I really, yeah, like this whole image. I really love this image of doing these practices which make us fuller versus from inside out versus filler from out
Yes.
in. You know, it's because if something is overstimulated, it's going to ultimately become depleted. If something is overheated, it's ultimately going to become depleted. If something is depleted, it's obviously in need of nourishment. And even if it's as simple as taking a picture of dehydration, if we become hydrated and our cells have that natural warmth of intelligence in them again, where this communication is taking place between self and cells, then there's like a rehydration takes place in that itself. And things just naturally become more full, juicier.
Yes.
Like our
Yes.
rasa dhatu, like our lymph and plasma becomes,
Yes.
there's more flavor to life, more juiciness of being.
Yeah.
And
Juiciness and joy
it
and
shows up physically. We
oh,
feel it
absolutely.
inside, but people observe
Yes.
it around us too.
Yes. Yeah. It's that natural radiance. But yeah, that, it's that dewy, uh, lustrous complexion that people are spending so much money on bottles of serum and creams. But that really does have to be cultivated, as you said, in the seven dhatus and the tissues and really coming from the inside out. And then we protect and nourish our skin from the outside in, as you say, using natural products that have a lot more life force. So it activates the aliveness of our skin and our body and mind and our cells in a healing, rejuvenating way where it's giving back. But you can't bottle that internal luster, and that comes from deep within and rises to the surface. And that's the, Ayurvedic beauty philosophy. The skin is really the cream that rises to the top. So our skin
Ah,
tells
I
a
like that.
story of,
Yeah.
like you said, if we're depleted, if we're overstimulated, if we're overheated, if we're undernourished, which is a common occurrence these days. And we're trying to outside in fix it. And that's part of it. We need to protect and nourish our skin, but it's that stuff really comes from the inside out. So it's rising to the surface. And
Mm.
we want it to rise into a radiant, dewy, lustrous complexion. But that's inner work as well.
Mm. Yes, yes. And I can't help but wonder about this kind of relationship where, and I love your phrase, such a rich image of the cream rising to the surface. It's like, oh yeah, that's it. That's what protects the milk underneath, is the barrier of this, rich, rich cream, like the cream plug on the top of the milk.
Yeah, yeah,
That, that,
absolutely.
yeah. And but what's coming to me is this. We're aware of, particularly as Australians, we're so aware of sun.
Of something.
And yet there's also something very curious about skin adaptability. Where does
Yes.
ability come into it? Because there's this, it's really curious that no two people are the same. So, two people with similar kinds of physical constitutions. So, physical similarities in the very composition of their skin could live in very similar or the same climate, have very similar amounts of sun exposure, but their skin will respond very differently.
Mm.
And so, what's coming alive for me is that how tied in is that to these very slow, soft, introspective experiences of self influence this.
As you say, adaptability and building your resilience. So when you have a really, strong digestive process, so strong Agni, and then also, being really well nourished from the inside out and having resilience and a great digestive system and a great immune system that supports the health of the skin, your stress response, how much good fats you're nurturing your body and your skin with, your antioxidant um, consumption, all of those sorts of things are going to create a really resilient and healthy complexion. And then when we have this beautiful, strong sense of self in conjunction with, feeding and nurturing our skin and our body correctly, but our skin being a barrier and what we physically show the world, I believe that when we have a very strong sense of self and we're nourishing ourselves well with diet and lifestyle, but also nourishing our sense of self, what we show the world and how we show up uh, is also indicative, I think, of a strong skin barrier.
Mm,
So you will find, and I'm breaking it down really simply, but you know, someone that has a very reactive, depleted skin that might be high pitta, so really inflamed, really dry, so prone to eczema or dermatitis, or has, flares and reactivity to products and the sun and stressors, you'll tend to find internally, or their sense of resilience is perhaps not as strong. So their barrier, what they're showing the world physically, is a little bit compromised, but emotionally, they're not feeling as strong as and resilient.
mm,
So it's about feeding and nourishing your skin on a physical level and making sure your digestive processes are functioning and you're well and healthy, but it's also having that emotional sense of self to what we show the world. So our skin barrier is that too, our physical skin, but also our boundary of how we show up and what affects
beau-
us.
beautiful. Yeah, so it's definitely, everything that we take in, every impression, every experience that we take in through all our organs of perception, all our sensory organs, everything we physically ingest, um, all feeds our skin.
Yes.
It all feeds our skin. And then what you're saying is that we don't have to overfeed our skin from the outside. It's actually very simple to feed our skin. It's understanding our skin can be fed with.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And this is again what I talk about a lot is an understanding of the qualities. So we see that a lot in Ayurvedic philosophy with the doshas and the qualities that they bring. So when we have an understanding of the qualities that are in excess in our skin, we can look at the opposing qualities to bring in, and that creates that beautiful sense of balance.
Mm,
But often, which from my philosophy, a lot of that involves less is more. So it is about feeding your skin, but in very simple ways. So usually using less products, but
mm,
using products that are going to nurture the qualities of your unique skin,
mm,
which will be different for everybody.
mm. Yes, yes. So what would um what would a great skin tip be? If you could give, or maybe three. It
Yes.
sounds difficult. Um, what would you say to people listening is a great starting point? Because obviously not everybody listening in, they can be anywhere on this magnificent planet and they cannot all come to see you
Yeah.
on the east coast of Australia. So, and you'd have a problem because trying to service everybody listening. So, what what would a starting point be? What would a great tip be for really nurturing and nourishing your own skin?
There's probably two. that I always tell every single client, and that is to invest in rose water. So, rose water, particularly here in Queensland where that heat and humidity rises, but everyone's stressed and burnt out and has a busy, overwrought mind. Misting the skin with rose water
Mm,
to cool and soothe and pacify the nervous system, but also increase that water element that's often missing from the skin. And then, oh, sorry, and then oil massage. So, investing in a good quality facial oil and massaging the skin with oil and just forming that connection to self would be the two things that are non-negotiable.
yeah. Yeah. And what kind of facial oil? So, just to recap that for people listening, rose water. And is that like spray, like atomized rose water? It sounds like,
Yes, I would decant it into a spray bottle or a mist. You can also wipe over with cotton pads,
yeah.
soaked cotton pads, but I love the mist because that just allows us to breathe and cool the mind and the head. And then in terms of oil, I
Yes.
use specific herbal oil formulations, but my favorite would be castor oil,
Yeah.
jojoba oil, or cold pressed black sesame oil.
hmm hmm And so, would you like to explain to people listening why castor oil would be so beneficial?
I love
And
castor
for
oil.
all the people listening that I have prescribed taking it internally for decades, you can have a little chuckle now. You can be applying it to your skin as well.
Yes, yes, I love castor oil. I actually massage in every single facial. Honey, raw organic honey and castor oil. It's just one of my favorite products. So castor oil is very thick. It has a very thick, sticky quality. So if you have a skin that is high vata, so dry, dehydrated, a little bit fragile and thin, or you've got concerns with fine lines and wrinkles, the quality of castor oil will help to balance and regulate that. And even though it's super thick, it has this really beautiful cooling and astringent quality. So it can be really good for a high pitta or heated skin, and also high kapha that can hold on to a lot of congestion and fluid. So what it will do is nourish the skin, but also start to flush the tissues of any excess heat and fluid. So, very anti inflammatory, very, very detoxifying. So, this is a beautiful oil to use topically at nighttime to massage your
Mm,
skin. But if you find, because it is very thick, you can also mix it with jojoba oil or black sesame oil or almond oil. You can do a half and half mixture.
mm. Fantastic. And with the castor oil, even though it's neutral, really, it doesn't have a smell. It's more, there's an aversion by many because to the viscous qualities of it, I would say.
Yes.
But you could add a drop of essential oil.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to
So
give
maybe
it a
even
beautiful
rose or
rose or frankincense, sandalwood.
sandalwood. Mm,
Yeah,
mm,
something like that to, or if you prefer citrus notes, I suppose. But I'm more of the floral. I think that's really beautiful.
mm,
But I think, as you said, like if you're taking it internally or doing castor oil detox packs on your tummy or rubbing it into your belly button, you just take the leftovers on your fingertips and massage it into your skin.
mm, mm. And so this is, This is also great for people to understand that quality castor oil or jojoba oil or black sesame oil are very readily accessible. And
Very accessible and affordable.
yeah, I was just going to say they last a long time because you're using a very small amount. Even a 50, I don't even know if they come in 50 ml bottles, but even a 50 ml bottle would go a long way.
Yes, a long, long way.
Yeah, yeah.
So just keeping it simple, affordable, super nourishing. And because the biggest thing I sense that's missing too, particularly when you're talking about rebalancing skin conditions, is the consistency of whatever skincare routine you may have. So people end up with lots of different products and the 8 step process or the 10 step process, and it's just not achievable. Or for the majority of people, it's not achievable if you're busy and working and have a family and, and then you fall by the wayside and you don't end up doing it morning and night or however frequently. And that lack of consistency dysregulates as well. So if we can nourish very consistently, that will regulate our skin and our skin cells and also regulate our body and our mind.
Mm,
So being consistent is key. And we
yeah,
can only do that when it's simple, I
yeah.
think.
I love that you share that because that's the being consistent is key. And Vata, which ages skin, which breaks down skin, which allows heat or which surges and pushes heat in skin, thrives on consistency.
Absolutely.
Consistency, like, routine and regularity, the consistency of that are the bookends that hold it from dysregulation. Mm. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I think these days, with stress and the lifestyles that the majority of us probably lead, having a lot of vata aggravation is quite prevalent, particularly women in the aging process. But I think everybody has some level of vata aggravation. So
Yeah.
when we start to create consistent grounding rituals, which your skincare can be an extension of,
Mm.
not only will you address, aging concerns in the skin, but you start to just have a calmer sense of self.
Yeah,
And I think that's really important for women. Self connection, that
absolutely.
sense of groundedness, but in a way that's really simple and nurturing. Because if something's simple and nurturing and enlivens us, we're going to do it and it's going to replenish us rather than be, another thing that we add on to the to do list.
Yes.
And it feels like a chore and we've already got a lot going on. So we want to not have that energy attached to it, but for it to be a really life-giving ritual.
Mm, mm. Wonderful. Oh, Neralee, it's just been such a joy to be in conversation with you. And
Thank you.
thank you for, bringing what has become pretty complex and at times very confusing and costly business back to simple, nourishing, natural in a way that's in this lived reciprocity with who you are.
Yes, and celebrating that.
Celebrating that,
Mm.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you so much. And you are based on the Sunshine Coast. And so if people live in the region or are holidaying in the region, they can the link to you will be in the bio of the and the intro to this episode, and so people can seek you out and come and have
Amazing.
a first-hand experience.
I'd love to look after them.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, it's been such a joy. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.